It was good. Yeah, it was very light, but we went through a lot of situational stuff that we haven't been able to do lately, just with the lack of practice time. But it was good. Draymond was not here, still personal absence excused, and so he'll be questionable for tomorrow. But what else do you need to know?
Steph.
Yeah, Steph's on track.
What are some of the situational things you guys wanted to work on that now you're having a chance to work on?
Press break, getting the ball in bounds late. We had a couple of those on the road trip, obviously. 3-point defense, late game situational stuff.
Defensively, we've talked a little bit this year about how you guys want to limit corner threes, and you have. But I think the last 4 years you were number one in the league in rim frequency for opposing teams. This year it's like middle of the pack.
Yeah.
Is that sort of like the trade-off that you're thinking about in terms of the shot distribution?
Not really. I mean, I didn't think of it that way, and it certainly wasn't the plan. I think we're doing as well as we can just based on what we're trying to accomplish, and if that means that we're not doing as well at the rim, I guess that is a possible trade-off. But generally speaking, when Draymond's on the floor, we get really good rim defense. But it's and it's never as simple as the numbers either. I thought on the road trip we played good defense, not great, and I thought both Chicago and Cleveland missed a lot of shots. And but when teams miss shots, the numbers look great, and everybody goes, "Hey, great defense," And so I'm not sure, if I trust the numbers completely in any direction. It's got to be a big sample size.
You guys have been pretty revolutionary with the way you guys have used on and off ball screens over the past decade. What do you think is very unique about the way you guys screen in this system?
I don't know that we're that unique, and I mean, we're doing stuff that teams did 30 years ago. The split cuts that came from the triangle offense from the Bulls. Jerry Sloan used to run split cuts with Utah. So it's actually adopting an old strategy at a time where most teams aren't doing that. But the game always evolves, and we are, I think, evolving ourselves this year. And we're not necessarily unique at this point. I think we were 6-7 years ago. Our split cuts remain, pretty unique, but we're also not running them as often or as well. And so we're evolving, just like the whole league is, towards more 5-out spacing, more ball movement, and just kind of finding different patterns based on the 3-point shooting and the pace and the modern game.
And then Jimmy has described Steph as playing with organized chaos a lot of times offensively. What do you think he means by that, and how do you guys play off of his gravity?
Well, Steph does stuff that, we don't necessarily draw up. He's so good running off screens that organically stuff just opens up when he happens to be in the middle of the paint and the ball starts to move, and there's just a random pin down. So you have to be ready for that randomness, because what Steph creates is chaotic for the defense. He's a threat everywhere he's on the floor, and so the defense always has to react to that. And if you're smart and you can pass, then you can take advantage of that chaos.
Another Pat Spencer question. How important is it to have a guy with that energy on a team that's contending and trying to find an identity?
How important has Pat been in that?
Maybe more so his energy and the
Yeah. I mean, the energy and the competitive spirit is a huge part of winning basketball, and that's what Pat has brought to us. There's a different vibe on the floor and in the locker room with Pat doing what he's doing, and he's changed our team for sure.
You've explained that one of the reasons why Al hasn't started much this year is because it's easier to manage his minutes so he can close. Is a similar dynamic at play with D'Anthony when you kind of want to keep his minutes
Yeah.
down?
Yeah. I mean, if he were, he's 27, if he were fully healthy, we could play him 35 minutes, no problem. But given the injuries, given the long absence, we have to keep his minutes down. And so he'll continue to come off the bench.
Steve, the veterans and the young guys in the locker room seem to believe that no matter how this season goes, bumps along the way, that if you get to the postseason, that things will work out in your favor. And they're looking at Steph, Draymond, Al, and Jimmy and saying, that's why. We think if we get them there, we'll be fine. Do you ascribe to that?
Well, describe be fine.
No, ascribe. Do you believe that?
Oh, and I'm asking you to describe what does fine mean. Does that mean
They trust that
we'll be fine?
they trust that they'll make a deep run.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we showed it last year. We got to the playoffs healthy, and we beat the 2 seed. Won the play-in game, beat the 2 seed, won game 1 in the conference semis. I think we had a legitimate shot last year to go deep, and I think that's what the guys are referring to. Doesn't mean you're going to, but we do have to, especially with the play-in tournament. You have to get there first and foremost. Just get there. But if you can get there in one piece, and our older guys are healthy, then we do feel like we have a
And
good
I
shot.
think part of that is because of obviously Steph and Draymond's postseason experience in the finals and Jimmy's ability to lift teams. So it makes sense when you look at it that way.
Yeah, for sure. But you have to get there. And, we had 2 years ago, we lost in the 10-9 play-in in Sacramento and season over. We had Steph and Draymond, so it's not enough to just say, let's rely on these guys and get to the playoffs in one piece. We have to become a great team. We can't, there's no skipping steps. But we have to do that within the context of these guys are going to miss some games.
Hello, Coach. Yesterday you mentioned that young players have to figure out who they are. I was wondering, how hard was it for you to find your identity when you as a player, and how long did that process take?
Well, for me, it was. It probably took 4 teams before I could find my role. I didn't have too much trouble knowing who I was because I'm not even joking. I wasn't good enough to be anybody other than the guy who takes care of the ball and makes open shots. That's who I had to be to make it in the NBA. But sometimes, you have to find the right circumstances too. So for me, it wasn't until I got to Chicago that I became a regular rotational player, and it was because of the way they played, the style of play.
And Jonathan asked a question about Jonathan. He said you guys have
Question about
Jonathan.
yeah.
He said you guys have a good relationship. How you describe this relationship as a coach, as a player?
How do I describe
This relationship
like any relationship with my players? Or
with the Jonathan Kuminga?
Yeah, well, I mean, I agree with him. I mean, we've communicated well over the years, and I like him, and I want the best for him. I want him to be the best player he can be, and we've had plenty of communication and film sessions over the years, and it's been a good relationship.
Steve, kind of going back to Monty's question, over the years, Bruce Bochy, managing the Giants, used to say that a winning year, a championship year, a lot has to go right. Your superstars have to perform. You have to have maybe a surprise or two, and a young guy who shines or overachieves, and some good fortune or good luck. Do you? I know it's a different sport, different season, longer season, but do you feel sort of the same way about that?
I mean, I remember Pop told me years ago after I finished playing and I was in broadcasting, and he said every championship team has to get 2 things. One is good health, good fortune with health. And then 2 is guys have to step up and make big shots. And whether it's the stars, the role players, players just have to, they got to make plays. And we saw it in 22. Jordan Poole was amazing in that playoff run, and we stayed healthy during that run. We had one injury to Gary Payton in the first round, but we were able to survive. And then we got him back in the finals. By the time we got him back, we won 4 of the next 5. So matchups can play into it. Do you get the right matchup, a team you match up well against, or are you pitted against a team that you struggle with? There's a lot of good fortune, but generally good health and guys making plays.